Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the episode 4 of our sports podcast. My name is Adam Gayton once again, and we do have a Sam here, but this time, it's not the Englishman. So, Sam Clark is not in. We have to replace him off the bench. We have Sam Doyle. How's it going, Sam?
Not bad, yourself?
I'm okay. I'm pretty happy. For those of you that have probably listened to the gaming podcast, I have talked about how I have this recorder that we use, a Boss BR-600. And the card that came with this machine is a small piece of crap. It's 128 megs, so lately it's been cutting out at like 35 minutes. So I think for a lot of the podcasts, you've seen me having to fiddle with the editing. It might sound a little jumpy. I've had like the last sports podcast, I had to make a really random, stupid ending because the card ran out. So I finally got my 1 gig in here. So this thing, I could literally talk for 6 hours if we really want to. I don't know about you, Sam, but I don't know. We might be up to a long-ass podcast, but...
I'm totally down. Let's do this.
All right, so we got a couple big subjects. This is going to be a lot more interesting. There's at least 2 topics that I've really got a little bit of an interest in. And the first one we're going to talk about Joe Paterno and Penn State, because NCAA laid down their decision. Not only that, but the school tore the statue down of Joe Paterno, so we'll talk about that. We also want to get into the Summer Olympics. Really, the question is, do we actually care? I can give you an advance notice. The answer is no. We're also going to talk about originally we're going to talk about Derrick Rose coming back from injury, but just recently, Rick Nash, for a lot of people who've been keeping up with hockey, we have no idea where he's gone. Well, we finally found out he's gone to the New York Rangers. And then last but not least, we had a very interesting soundbite from Dana White, because UFC 149 was last weekend in Calgary, and it was a joke. So I'm going to play a little bit of a video from that later on, and you guys will get to decide just how pissed off you think he was. But we are, like I said, going to start with Joe Paterno and Penn State. Now, for those of you that haven't quite kept up with it, and I'm be hard-pressed to find somebody who hasn't, because this is a pretty serious issue, Penn State was found to have covered up allegations and accusations that former coach Jerry Sandusky was sexually abusing minors. And we're talking children here, not like young teenagers. He was sexually abusing children. And Joe Paterno was covering that up too. And, you know, obviously for people who know, Joe Paterno's passed away. And just recently, I think it was Monday, they made the decision. It was Monday. They laid down the decision on what to do with Penn State. And the following was they were going to give him a $60 million fine, which is probably the equivalent to profits for 1 season. They're also banned for the playoffs for 4 years. They've cut the number of scholarships that they can award. They have a whole bunch of sanctions on them, so they're going to have people keeping an eye on this to make sure that none of this crap happens again. But the most important part, I think, to me, and I'm not sure how you agree with that, Sam, but they've stripped 111 wins, I think from 1998 onwards to the present day, from Penn State and Joe Paterno, which makes him no longer the most winningest coach in all of college football. So I want to know from you, Sam, there was a lot of talk that they were going to put the death penalty on Penn State, but they didn't. Do you think they should have or shouldn't they?
I think they should have, or at least a ban for a while, because it just has a bad name now. Now when you think of Penn State, what do you immediately think of? As a pedophile. It just has a bad rep now. If it looks bad in the NCAA, it looks bad at Penn State. So it just makes sense to cut the program completely and kill it. Exactly,
because I mean, I had a massive argument because a lot of people didn't agree that because I'm the same deal. I want the death penalty on them, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, why would you give them the death penalty?" And I said, simple: this school knowingly covered up allegations and proof that there were child sex abuse going on. And SMU, for those of you who remember, they got the death penalty only because they paid players to come. So try to figure out this logic with me. They gave a school the death penalty for paying players extra money to come to their school, but when a school tries to cover up child sex abuse, that's not worth the death penalty? That seems a little skewed to me.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just insane to me, and I mean, I can't say that, you know, I feel bad for Penn State to begin with, because a lot of the kids that are going to the school now, they're screwed. I mean, who even if you're not a member of the football program, what do you say if you're a student of Penn State right now?
There's not much to say. It's just just a bad situation there.
I really wonder how many kids transferred after that case came out. I actually would be curious to find out how many actually did, because I probably would have.
Probably a lot. The parents parents probably ripped them right out of that school. And
Yeah.
they don't want any of that.
Because I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't want to be there with the media scrums and everything else. I wouldn't want to have to deal with that shit. I wanted my days to go on peacefully. And when you're going to have 20 media trucks or fucking sitting outside, you're not going to get that quiet.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure parents don't want their kids going there for obvious reasons, but
Yeah, well, let's bring our 10-year-old kids to that school again. Nothing will happen, right?
yeah,
It's ridiculous, though. I mean, how anyone, like, that really tells you, this is why I really have a big problem with football, is because people seem to value football as, like, being more important than anything else in this entire world. People, especially in college football goes above everything else in life. Like, in this case, pretty much makes that true. That a school will value a fucking game over the life and mental well-being of a child. That is ultimately as screwed up as you can get.
yeah, that's bottom of the bell right there. But then again, you can make the same argument for every sport. There's always that like fan. They'll put hockey first. They'll put soccer first over everything.
Oh, don't get me started on soccer again. I already had that conversation last week about how people put that over everything else.
Yeah.
But I mean, with sports in general, I don't know what it is, because personally, I'm a huge sports fan. Obviously, I wouldn't be doing these podcasts. But I do not value sports as being the only thing that I should ever care about. It's a game to me. I played baseball as a kid. I really didn't take it as seriously to the point that if I lost a game, I'd kill myself over it, or nowadays, I'm a big Leafs fan. They haven't made the playoffs since the lockout. You think I'm going to a bar and drinking my sorrows out every time they lose a game? No, it's a game. I'm not paying big money to see them. If they lose when I pay $300 for a fucking ticket there, maybe I'll be a little pissed off. But if I'm just watching it on TV and they lose, yeah, I'm a little cross because, they lost, and sometimes in the ways that they do lose, it's pretty embarrassing. But it's not to the point that I'm going to, like, literally take it so seriously that I don't care about anything else in my own life. So how people can take it that seriously is just beyond me.
Yeah. Well, with you should have them as your pallbearers on your funeral there, so they'll let you down one more time.
Oh, it's one of those things that I said, you know what, the day I die is going to be the day the Leafs make a playoff run, a legitimate playoff run, so...
But they're starting to look good, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's hope so. Let's really hope so. But the one thing that I do want to say before this is done is how big of a sentence do you think this is, and how big of a warning is this for other schools now that they've done this big fine, all these bans, all these cuts, and especially the 111 wins that got stripped? How big a deal do you think this is, and how much do you think every college and every university in the United States especially is going to take notice of this?
Oh man, this is the pinnacle of problems. So every school is now looking at their program, making sure they're not having any flaws, any like bad people in it. They're pretty much looking right through their program, like, hey, this guy's good, this guy's good, this guy's good. So they don't want any of this happening to them because they know how much like football is valued in their college and like to their community around them. It's not good to have that, so they don't want to be involved in that at all.
Exactly, because I mean, I have a feeling that from now on you're going to start seeing a lot more background checking. You're going to see a lot more. I guess security is going to be beefed up. They're going to have probably more cameras hidden around there so they can keep an eye on things. Because if a case like this ever happens again, the fool me once, shame on you, and the fool me twice, shame on me comment pretty much works the best. If something like this ever leaks out again, that school, I guarantee, if that school doesn't get the death penalty, all hell will break loose from parents and fans alike. Because if it happens again, especially after this sentence has been dealt out, shit's gonna hit the fan. I swear to God.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll move on, and from a depressing subject to a I don't give a shit subject, but we have to talk about it. Not tomorrow, Friday, the Olympic torch will be lit, and the Summer Olympics will begin. Woo! I don't care. I've never been a big Olympics guy. Not even the Winter Olympics really get my attention. I mean, I really just watch the hockey. That's about all I watch. And I'm sure a lot of Canadians and even Americans alike, that's probably most of what they watch. Because, I can imagine how exciting watching somebody go headfirst down a ice track is going to be. Oh, look, they're going around the same corner I've seen 10,000 other times. It's like NASCAR. But you personally, Sam, do you even give a shit about the Summer Olympics?
I care a lot about girls beach volleyball. I'm very intent in that. But other than that, I am and I'm not. I am because it's nation's heroes. They're the best in the Canada, in the world, in America, whatever. And they're competing against other people to say, hey, look, we have the best athlete in the world. Look, Canada has the best javelin thrower or whatever, you know? Like, it's just, for some people, these people are their heroes because they want to be like the world's fastest hurdler and whatnot. So, to me, I care only because, like, it's hard to explain, just like, I want to see our nation strive. I just want to see, like, who becomes the best in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what's more important to you? Would you rather, our country, especially here in Canada, would you rather them be a Summer Olympic team or a Winter Olympic team?
I love the beach volleyball, so I'm going to go summer.
You'd rather watch the Canadian beach volleyball team.
We only have summer for 2 months of the year, so I'm going to go with winter.
Are you kidding me? With the way the weather's been lately, we're going to have summer for 5 months of the rate this is going. You kidding me?
No, no.
But I mean, for me, it's simple. Our main sport is hockey. So winter, to me, makes more sense. And that's pretty much right. I hate both seasons, to be honest. I can't stand burning the hell out of myself in the summer. And I can't figure out why anybody want to freeze their ass off in the wintertime. But, like I said, I'm a hockey guy. So, I mean, that it's a no-brainer for me that the Winter Olympics make sense. The Summer Olympics, to me, I remember the last Olympics, everybody was making such a big fuss because Canada hadn't won a medal in like a week. And I'm sitting there thinking, really, you guys care that much that we didn't win medals in like discus or the javelin or synchronized swimming? God forbid that. You know, God forbid we don't win a medal in hockey in the Winter Olympics, but God forbid, oh my God, we don't get a medal in the discus, we're screwed. We're shaming ourselves. I mean, considering that most of our funding goes to hockey and those kind of programs, I mean, we're starting to get into soccer. Obviously, the women's team, they're actually playing opening rounds now. They were playing Japan. I think they were down 2-1 the last time I checked. I haven't been checking since. I mean, even then, like, we're not quite there yet. So even with soccer, we're not even really up to the point that I think Canada's really going to care too much. It's not like how it was in the games in Atlanta. And I remember this as a kid, watching Donovan Bailey break the record in the 100 meters. That was amazing to me as a kid. And that's probably the last time I've legitimately watched the Summer Olympics. Mind you, that was because as any kid can tell you, when the TV's on and your parents are watching, your first thought is, ooh, what's on? You sit down and cross-legged and just watch. And I just happened to be there for that. But since then, especially now that I've had some thinking power, I really just can't get into it. I can't see the value in just watching people run for 15 seconds at a time. It's like watching a football play.
Well, don't forget about this. Like, 60% of the world is like summer all year round.
Yeah.
So running is the shit there.
Well, yeah, I have no problem. If I lived in Jamaica, I guarantee you, my opinion would be completely flipped.
Oh yeah.
But because this is a country where we're more adapt to skiing, snowboarding, figure skating, bobsledding, hockey, and
curling.
whatever else, and curling. I mean, that's where we are. That's our thing. So when people get really soured that we're not winning 100-meter dashes or relays or biking events or all that stuff, I really don't care because that's not what we're known for.
Yeah, but at the same time, you want to see our athletes strive. I get you, like, you're not really a fan of it, but it's always nice to see, like, hey, we're the best at the 100-meter dash.
Oh, believe me, I love watching the stories they put on, especially when there's like guys like what's his name, Simon Whitfield, guys like him, where they have all these good backgrounds. They're these big heroes in what they do. Because I think he's big in, I think it was the triathlon or something like that. He's really big in, or cross country or something like that. But, I love the packages they put on. I get interested in that point. But when it comes to actually watching the events, I just don't see the value. I guess if I was live, it might be different. Because a lot of people hate watching baseball live. But I love, or watching baseball on TV. But live is a different story. It's a little more, you get into it. But I guess in this case, a lot of these sports don't translate very well on TV. I can't imagine watching somebody just throw a disc. Because now that I think about it, I don't know if they even ever show that on TV.
You'd be surprised then. They probably do.
It depends on what you're watching, I guess. Because if you're watching like a CBC feed, they're only going to show you the big stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you go on NBC where they've got like 4 different channels going on and they're keeping an eye on every event that's going on, you'll probably get a catch of it. But
I'm sure like in Turkey they show every event like the Turkish players in. So
yeah, exactly.
It's just Canada's such like a wide variety of like, even with like America and USA England and all that. They have such a wide variety of athletes. They can't show every single event.
Yeah. I
Like they'll
mean,
show if their person wins a gold or silver, bronze medal. That's about it though.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm really excited. I'm more excited once the torch gets lit because it means I get to start on my Minecraft Olympics, but, that's a different story. Um, but either way, what I usually do is I will keep up with it through sports highlights because I'm usually watching TSN or the score in the morning, so I'll catch it. I'll catch the highlights. I'll see what we do, win, what we don't, who, if any really big records get broken. I'm sure they'll be putting Michael Phelps on a pedestal again this year, and Time Magazine will give him one of the 100 sexiest men, even though he's got probably the ugliest face I've ever seen. Looks like somebody bashed it in. He might have been taking too many hits to the face when he was diving into there, but who knows?
Yeah, and there's that one Japanese gymnast who's supposed to be the Michael Phelps of this sport.
Yeah, but I don't think they got that. Well, they might. I don't know if he'll get the 9 or 10 gold medals, but
Well, they'll see.
you never know.
Yeah.
But anyway, our next story, which came out of left field, and I'm actually surprised that this team ended up getting him. Rick Nash, as everybody knows, he's been on the hot seat since, God, I don't even know when, but there was comments going around that he wanted out. Obviously, Columbus has turned into a shithole of a club, and I mean, I got friends that are Jackets fans, and they're even embarrassed on what's going on there now. And so we've known for at least a few months now that he's wanted out, and finally we found out yesterday where he was going, and he's gone to the New York Rangers. And I to be honest, I wasn't expecting that. And I guess what the Jackets are getting back, I'm not fully convinced that that's what they could have gotten, but considering that we've known for this amount of time that he pretty much was on his way out of Columbus, I guess I can understand what they got. But for those who don't know, the Rangers got Nash. What they traded for him was they traded him forwards Brandon Dubinsky and Artem Anisimov. They traded defenseman Tim Erickson, which I don't recognize, so he might be a prospect or something like that. And they also traded their first round pick for 2013. Which, in hindsight, considering, I guess, when you take the value and all the backlash that was going on with them, I guess it's kind of a fair deal. What do you think?
Yeah.
I personally think they could have gotten a little. They could have probably taken off that first round pick or maybe that defenseman, but I mean,
No. The asking price is way high for Rick Nash. They wanted everything for him.
well, it was like when they were trying to get rid of Brodeur, all that stuff, and everybody's thinking, oh no, Luongo especially, and he's not even gone yet, so we don't even know what the hell's going on with him, and. Most people, any other time, I guarantee you, for a guy like Nash, on any other situation, you'd be getting a first-round pick, 2 good prospects, and then a core forward or defenseman. But instead, because people knew that this guy was on his way out, obviously the asking price has to go down a little bit, and that's what ended up happening. They end up getting a little less.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they want to keep him. Like, the last 8 games he played under, like, all that, like, I want to trade thing, he got 11 points, so he can deal with it. He just wants to play hockey for, like, a winning club.
Exactly.
That's why he didn't go for Ottawa or, like, the Islanders or anything, because he wanted to be part of a winning club, not a rebuilding club.
And you got to think, too, that now that he's on the Rangers are looking really good now.
They are, but their problem, once again, is defense.
And thankfully, they still got King Henrik in there, because he's probably the reason that they did as well as they did last year. So as long as he can stay consistent, they should be fine, I think.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're completely screwed on defense, but yeah, I think they could use like another core defenseman, probably a veteran at most. Not a Wade Redden kind of veteran, because that didn't work out very well, but, any other kind of fix I think would work.
Yeah, but, like, another problem is, like, they lost Brandon Dubinsky, one of their, like, top grinders, and Anisimov, one of their fastest guys. Like, with those 2 guys gone, you gotta wonder, like, will they be as tough and as fast now?
Well, I'm sure they got something else in their back pocket. They've probably got some kids coming up to you, so you never know. But, yeah. I mean, either way, this is a pretty big risk, but it could be a pretty big reward to have Nash on there. He's going to play with a guy like Gaborik, who could really, really get this guy some extra points, and it could work the other way around, too, where Gaborik could even get more points. So, you never know. And personally, you can't go wrong with Rick Nash. This guy is borderline Hall of Famer. I'm not sure if he would. He could. I can think it's very possible, but he's not a shoo-in like guys like Yzerman and all these other guys are.
Yeah. Well, who would you choose in this case? Rick Nash or Bobby Ryan? Both on the trading block.
Well, I mean, Bobby Ryan for sure. I mean, he's a younger guy, so you're going to get more bang for your buck, considering that you can get more years out of him. You know, Rick Nash is already in his mid-30s, so you can never tell for sure if he's going to last a few years and give you good, consistent years.
Yeah, and I just think Bobby Ryan's the price tag for him is a lot lower because he's been on the trading block because like every time something goes wrong for the team, he's always one to blame.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but he basically is like, he said in a press conference, like, I had enough of this. If you guys don't want me here, just trade me. I'm fine with anywhere.
I'm sure he'd be happy somewhere else.
Yeah.
Considering how Anaheim really hasn't been that much better since.
Yeah, but the Jackets should be an interesting team next year also. With
no, they certainly should.
Ryan Murray, Atkinson, like, there's a couple big guys there now, so...
I mean, it's not going to be the level where you're going to see them make the playoffs all of a sudden, but they're not. I don't know if you'll see them being at the last place team by a mile as it was last year. So,
yeah, and Captain Callahan and Brad Ritters and Marion Gabbert should be an interesting combo too.
How pissed do you think people in Columbus were that they still didn't win the lottery pick?
Not too pissed. I think Toronto's more pissed off.
Because it's imagine if Edmonton still is in a lottery pick position after this season. How completely embarrassing would that be for the team?
To be honest, I would not be surprised. They're pretty much an AHL team right now.
When you think about it, though, you're thinking they have all these young guys. Why the hell can they not get people to come play there?
It's just the city, to be honest with you. It's cold. Why would you want to go to like a super cold city? Like Danny Healy, for example, didn't want to go there because he's a little whiny guy. Well,
I mean, why would you want to go to the place where Gretzky made it famous, right?
Yeah, but now that these young names are coming in, people are wanting to go because they know it's going to be a great environment to play in. Like Justin Schultz, for example, high-end player. Everyone wanted him, but he decided to go out west to Edmonton because all the young guys are there. So he's going to be people his own age. It's just going to be a fun time there.
Also because Wayne Gretzky kind of gave him a little bit of a nudge over.
Yeah, when you have Wayne Gretzky swindling you, yeah.
It'd be like having, a guy like George St. Pierre coming up to you in the UFC just saying, no, you want to fight. Okay, dude, okay, got it. You're right.
Yeah.
But that'll be interesting. But speaking of UFC, like, what a great segue there. That was not even on purpose, too. That was the best part.
Kudos.
And even a bigger segue, because we're talking about Edmonton, all of a sudden, we go to Calgary, and UFC 149 was last weekend. And the card, I guess, in a sense, like, it ended up being a really shitty pay-per-view. As you'll hear, I'm going to play a 5-minute clip of Dana White at a press conference. He called one match, he said, because it was nothing but clinching for 3 rounds. So he's like, this isn't the ultimate clinching championships, this is the ultimate fighting championships. But they broke a lot of records in Calgary. They made a big impact. Everybody was really excited, but then a lot of injuries started happening, and the card got changed a lot. Like it says on tickets, card subject to change. There was a lot of changes going on, and eventually, it just got to the point where the card didn't deliver. The opening match, I think, was really good, as from what I heard, because I didn't watch it. I'm not a big UFC guy. I'm a big Dana White guy. I love listening to this guy speak. If he was suddenly doing a spoken word, like guys like, Alan Cross and all these other music radio personalities and stuff do spoken word events and stuff. If Dana White did one, I'd pay to go to that, because I would love to listen to him just rant for 2 hours. That would be amazing. But I'm going to play a clip for you guys. It was the press conference afterwards. It's about 5 minutes long, and he talks pretty much about just how completely embarrassed he was. So, without further ado, let's turn over to Dana White. And I swear this isn't live, so, I don't know why I'm talking like this. But anyway.
I said this the other day, and it's true. We make money. This company makes money. I like breaking records. We broke the gate record here tonight, and I'm embarrassed by it. I was excited when I heard, and now I'm embarrassed. The undercard delivered. They were awesome. The main card did not. And I don't think that the Faber-Barao fight deserved the booze that I got. You're talking 2 of the best guys in the world in a 5-round title fight. It was very technical. Everybody knows how good Uriah Faber is, and Barao dominated him tonight. If the undercard wasn't as shitty as it was, it wouldn't have been so bad.
Is there anything you could point to? I mean, it just seems like everybody's looking for answers as to what happened, what went wrong. Is there anything that you could point to?
I was sitting in the arena tonight, and I think there were a lot of things that went wrong. I felt like I was at UFC 33 again, you know? And I think that Czech Congo and Jordan pushed against the fence for 3 rounds, and I think that the ref let them do it. I mean, when you see these guys that are in this isn't the ultimate clinching championship. It's the fighting championship. And when you see 2 guys just clinching for 3 rounds, and then in the 3rd round, they clinched for an entire 5 minutes. And this idiot standing around looking at him. As a referee, your job is to enforce the rules and make sure that these guys fight. And if they're not fighting, you break them up and you watch it, you make them fight. And we're talking about guys that are experienced guys that have done enough fights by now. Yves Levine was horrendous tonight. The officiating in this sport doesn't change, and I'm not just talking this sport, I'm talking combat sports in general. These guys are going to kill it. And not to take anything from Czech, Congo, and Jordan, who throw 1 punch and then clinch against the fence for 3 full rounds. So I think a lot of things.
I guess last question. I know earlier in the week you teased that you'd have some big fights at 185 pounds. With the way things played out, is that have plans changed? What are the plans?
Yeah, well, I think you look at a guy like Lombard, comes in on a 25-fight win streak, and the fight was horrible. But if you look at a guy like Bosch is this underdog who came out of nowhere, beats Yushin Okami, and then, people aren't going to be trying to reorder the fight to watch that one, but he won the fight again tonight. He beat a guy on a 25-fight win streak, and he beat one of the best 185-pounders in the world now for a long time. So, again, the positive out of the negative. Bosch won the fight.
Dana, can you talk a little bit more about Hector's performance? Was it a performance that you were sickened by, or did you think that it was just a few different things he could have done? What was your thoughts as you were watching the fight?
Well, it wasn't the fight that I expected at all. I mean, it wasn't the fight that I expected, and I don't know if I was sickened by it. It just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Whether it was Bosch or Lombard winning, I was expecting a real war. I thought this thing was going to be a war. As the card was going on, I said, "Oh God, thank God, Bosch and Lombard are coming out right now, because this is going to save the show." And then when that one was over, I was like, "Oh my God."
Sometimes you give guys passes as far as the UFC jitters. Did you think that maybe that was?
There's no doubt that's real. I said that before the fight. I mean, it's absolutely 100% real. It is. We've seen it. You've seen it. I've seen it. The fans have seen it many times. But I have this partnership with the fighters. This is a partnership. The UFC hasn't become as big as it is and as fun and as exciting worldwide as it is because I walk around and talk a lot and say this and say that. We go out and we put together the best fights that we can possibly put together, and every time we go into a city, no matter where in the world it is, these guys deliver. Once it's Saturday night and everything starts to roll, everything is out of my hands other than doing the production and all the things that we do. It's these guys. Then they step in and they take over and they deliver, and we have these conversations. I mean, we have these conversations. And we're all on the same page. We know what we do and we know what it is. And tonight, and we always do. If you look, we're UFC 149. We can count on one hand how many shows have actually sucked. And tonight is one more finger on the hand.
And that's exactly why I love Dana White. It's just literally the idea that he's just so honest and so brutally honest about it that I love it. What did you think about his comments there, Sam?
I think it's pretty funny too.
Just that, like I said, I never watched the pay-per-view myself, but just listening to, I watch the MMA show with Mauro Ranallo on the score, and he'll sometimes have Ariel Helwani on there from the MMA fighting show, but those two talking about it alone got me interested. I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, if they're talking about how bad this fight was, I wonder what Dana White said about it. And then I found the press conference and I'm like, oh my God, is he pissed off or what? There was the one guy that he suspended because he got tested for steroids, literally, I think just near the fight. And his reaction is to that alone, like, oh my God, you swear to God, he was ready to take a knife and just stab the son of a bitch. You know, this guy, he's made a fortune off of being probably who I think is the best talker in all of sports. I don't know if you agree with me or not, Sam, but do you?
I'm going to have to disagree with you there.
Well, who would be better then?
Sonnen. Definitely Sonnen.
Okay, but yeah, okay, let me rephrase the question then. Out of anybody who isn't an athlete in sports, like you're talking coaches, managers, GMs, anybody else, do you think there's another guy like that's not one of the athletes that that's a better talker than Dana?
Can't think of any right now.
Because, I mean, you got your John Tortorellas, you got your John Maddens from way back in the day, you got all the NFL coaches that have their 15 minutes of fame with the stupid things they say in press conferences and that kind of stuff, but I think consistently, I'm never more focused listening to someone than I am with Dana, because Dana is just, like I said, he's so brutally honest, and he will literally, I swear, and what you didn't see in the camera shot is that all the guys who are in the fight, they're sitting there. They're sitting right next to him, and he's hammering some of these guys. And I can't imagine sitting down there and just going, oh shit, he's really pissed at me, isn't he?
No, that's the one thing about UFC. It's so powerful. Like, you can have like a legless hooker versus an armless midget, and it'll still sell out.
Because, I mean, you never see stuff like this in boxing, and that's why boxing, I think, personally, is so far away from mixed martial arts now, is because mixed martial arts knows how to sell their fights, they know how to promote their fights, and they know how to talk about their fights. Boxing, half the time when the best fights are on, you don't know that they exist. Unless it's Mayweather or Pacquiao, you don't know. You don't have any idea that there's any good matches going on. The only way you hear about it is by word of mouth, and unfortunately, when you hear it by word of mouth, it usually means the fight's already happened.
Yeah, that's the thing. Boxing was big in, like, the 1940s, around that era. That's when, like, boxing was considered, like, the toughest man's sport. But now that, like, we've kind of upped the scale of it, mixed martial arts, MMA, that's considered the man's sport. Like, that's a sport, like, you want to watch to get someone knocked out completely and, like, bust open their face.
I mean, personally, to me, I think the part where boxing completely lost its edge was the day that Mike Tyson stopped fighting.
Yeah. Or the day Sock and Boppers came out. One of the
Sock and Boppers.
Yeah.
Fuck, I love that commercial. Way more fun than a pillow fight.
You can get punched in the face and break your nose with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's the kind of thing. I mean, boxing, I remember boxing being the shit. It was the bee's knees way back in the 80s and 90s when you had Mike Tyson, you had Sugar Ray Leonard, you had guys like those, and just ramsacking the shit out of each other. And now, it's gone. It's done. There's nothing else to promote it. I mean, the champion, I think, has been that Russian guy, Klitschko or whatever, for the longest time. Nobody cares anymore. And especially, I remember watching Klitschko fight, and I remember being so bored watching it because literally you couldn't get close to him, so it was just basically the one guy strafing while trying to avoid this big-ass Russian's punches every 5 seconds. That's not a fight. And I can't imagine watching UFC 149 where the Ultimate Clinching Championship suddenly came out and they clinched for 3 rounds. That is one reason why I can't watch UFC, but I still have an interest in it because of what it represents and what it promotes. But when fights like that go on, those are usually the fights that I see and a lot of random people will see, like especially guys going to bars, maybe it's their first time really seeing a pay-per-view, and they see a match like that, that's it. Dana knows, and you can tell by how pissed his reaction was that he knows that because of a fight like that, he's just suddenly lost some fans. He lost more fans than he gained them, as far as I see it.
Yeah, that's, like, I know at my bar, when I'm bartending and there's a fight on, if there's lots of grappling, people start yelling, just booing and stuff, like, it gets vicious in there. If it's just nonstop grappling on the floor, like, hugging each other, all that stuff. People, when they think of MMA, they're thinking of just punches, kicks, like, elbows to the head, like, everything,
I mean,
they're not just there for, like, a hug fest.
I mean, when you're talking about fights like that, I mean, apparently for the Faber-Barao main event, people were still booing at that match, and that fight apparently was still really good. But because so many of the fights leading up to it were so bad and so shitty, that fans, they just did not care anymore. They wanted to make their voices heard, and that meant booing during the main event that actually wasn't so bad, and it was a big deal because, Barao defeated Uriah Faber or something like that. Uriah Faber, there we go. And he was the champion. He was the champ, and he's lost the title now to Barao. And that should be a big deal, but because of all these terrible fights and all the booing, it's been lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, that's what happens though. Is you get like 4 bad fights in a row, you're going to tend to lose interest. So.
I mean, I'm a big wrestling fan, and that translates a lot in WWE too, where the card overall will be so bad that fans just, it goes so silent, and when something big happens, it doesn't come off like it was big anymore because the fans are so out of it, and they're sitting on their hands that, there's nothing they can do. And that's the problem. You can't just make a show, and a show like UFC 149 is a great tool for people to teach how to promote your events. You have to ensure that you can't just have a good opener and a good main event. Everything from top to bottom has to have some sort of appeal, or else you're screwed. You'll never get the cheers, the applause, and just the hype for a main event that should have been as big as it was and ended up just coming off so flat because the audience reaction just wasn't there because they were so unimpressed with everything else in between.
Yeah, that's the tough one. If you have a couple bad fights, your whole night can be ruined a bit. If it's a good night, the fighters get more into it. It gets more violent because like their adrenaline's pumping even more as everyone's cheering and like enjoying it. But when people are just sitting there like, oh no, we don't want more of this. The fighters, they don't have the adrenaline rush they have when there's like 50,000 people sitting there cheering and like just egging them on,
Because, I mean, for people who don't know UFC very much, there was like 8 or 9 fights on the card, and really there were 2 good fights. And then all of a sudden there's 7 other matches now that they got to go through that just didn't do very well. And when you think 7 out of 9 matches that didn't get the hype covered, that it wasn't as exciting, it's like going to a baseball, hockey, basketball, whatever game where your team is getting so wrecked that you leave just like halfway through because you're like, there's no point in watching this. Like, say a hockey game where the Leafs are down, say, or in your case the Sens, say if they're down like after the end of one period 5-0, how shitty do you feel after that? You don't even want to watch the next 2 periods.
The perfect example of that is actually Pittsburgh went to Philly and just ran them out of the building in game 4, I think it was.
Yeah, but that was in Philly.
Yeah, that was embarrassing for Philadelphia. 10-0 or something. That was bad.
I mean, what was even more amazing is, of course, the game before that. That's the greatest contract between 2 games, or contrast, not contract. But you take game 3 of that series and then game 4, and you put those side to side. That tells you how quickly hype can go, just like that. Because that game was so intense, they crushed Pittsburgh in game 3, and the fans were going nuts, just going, "You can't beat us," and going all game with that. And then game 4, it just went silent.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. That was probably one of the worst goaltending series I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and Marc-Andre Fleury's stock just went through the roof, and by the roof, I mean they flipped the building upside down. He just went down.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That was a horrendous series. I'm glad that neither team ended up going to the final.
It was very interesting, though. I enjoyed watching it, not going to lie. Just from a goaltending standpoint, horrible.
I'll tell you the only reason I was interested is because I hate Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins, so I was happy to see them get their asses handed to them.
Ah.
But other than that, yeah, I mean, if I actually had watched that pay-per-view and that was my first pay-per-view, that would have been it. That would have been the point where I would have no more interest into it, and UFC would be put in the same spot that boxing is. But because, like, I mean, they have the Ultimate Fighter. I don't know how many seasons they've gone through that. It's like any other reality show. I'm sick of seeing the name come up too. So I mean, I really hope that Dana and the UFC really get 150 really top to bottom looking really good, because they need to come back with one heck of a boom to make up for that show. Because I mean, again, this is 150 coming up. They have to make this good. They can't just half-ass this. So, I hope they can do well. I think they will. I mean, it's 150. They obviously planned this ahead of time. I don't think injuries are going to suffer nearly as much as this. So, I mean, either way, I can expect nothing but good things.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Well, anyways, I think that will do it. We got through our topics, and we were just hitting the 40-minute mark about, so I think that's a good way to stop. So, thank you very much for listening. You can follow me at DLOpinions, capital D, capital L, capital O opinions. Since I'm not using my actual Twitter account anymore, I'm pretty much the owner of that freaking account now. You can follow Sam at Sam the Sens fan, I believe it is, right?
That is correct.
Sam the Sens fan. I know it's ironic. We had the English Sam on yesterday, and he's also a Senators fan. That's kind of screwed up. But either way, thank you so much for listening. We'll hope to see you next week on the episode 5 of the Sports Podcast. So take care, guys.